Hi, I'm Robin Robertson with the Bellingham Tennis Club and Fairhaven Fitness. Here with me is my friend Rick Kaselj, who is about to launch a product named Fix My Back Pain. And I know at the tennis club we have a lot of players, Rick, that have lower back pain, upper back pain, and why don't you tell me just a little bit about the product?
Yeah. How about I step back before I talk about the product? If I can give you like one thing that you can do right now if you're a tennis player that'll end up helping with your back pain. And the number one thing that I would recommend is almost not even looking at the back, but going down and looking at the hips. So what oftentimes will happen with age, with what we do now involving more sitting, computer work, and phone stuff, is that we tend to get stiff in the hips and we end up getting stiff in the back. So what ends up happening is since we lack those movements in those areas, we get more stress on the back, and a lot of times the back is the weakest of those two areas just based upon how the bones are designed. So if we can loosen up the hips by not just stretching, so stretching is one component, improving the tissue quality, and that's a lot of times the foam rolling side of things, or massage if you get massage, so improving the tissue quality so the tissue ends up moving better. And then third is like improving the mobility, which is how that joint, how things are moving in that joint. And that would end up being like, working the joint through full ranges of motion, like doing squats through full ranges of motion, doing exercises that kind of help promote mobility in that hip. Yep. So that would be my number one thing, like taking some time to work on the stretching, improving the tissue quality with the foam rolling, and some mobility work, working on loosening up the hips. In all three planes of movement, that will definitely end up helping your back. That's kind of what I've noticed with people that do rotational sports, especially like tennis.
Well, how do you feel about warm-up? So we have our tennis players come in, they're ready to go out on the tennis court. Yeah. What do you think about warm-ups?
I think warm-up is important, and for a number of reasons. Doing the warm-up, it just kind of ends up, shifting your mind from what you were doing before, what could have been work, and then you get into tennis or whatever you're going to play, and so your mind ends up getting used to doing that, because one thing that leads to injury or poor performance is poor movement patterns. And if your mind is thinking of a variety of things, you can't move properly when it comes to tennis. Other things that warm-up ends up doing is firing the stabilizing muscles. So with us sitting so much or driving so much, those muscles that stabilize, let's say the shoulder, that stabilize the back, that stabilize the hip, they're not really working. And when you end up doing warm-up, you end up waking them up so that they can end up doing their job, which is oftentimes protecting those joints.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the last thing is that with a warm-up, you oftentimes will like dynamically stretch the tissues. So stiffness increases your risk of injury. So people that are stiffer compared to people that have better movement are more likely to get injuries. But if you end up doing warm-up, you end up increasing the movement that shoulder or hip or back can do without stretching the tissue.
Fabulous. Now, in your product, Fix My Back Pain, tell me what kinds of things people can expect.
Yeah, when it comes to Fix My Back Pain, what it is, it's a program to help people get back to pain-free workout. So it's like people that are active, and it's like, what can I do to help my back? I'm an active person. What are things that I can do simply at home or with very little equipment that can get me back to working out or playing pain-free? And the big thing is, a mistake I see is people will just focus on stretching and strengthening, and that's a component, but what you need to do is step back and set the stage for healing and moving your back from a painful back to a pain-free back. So I break it down into three components, which is component one is like reshaping the inside of your back to be pain-free. Then we go to component two, is reshaping your back from the outside. And then thirdly is layering on the injury-specific exercises. So depending on what type of back pain you have, there's a certain set of exercises that you need to focus in on. There isn't one exercise, a group of exercises that do all different types of back pain and injuries. It needs to be specific to the back pain and injury. So that's what I do. It's all video based, like 5-10 minute videos. We kind of take you through figuring out what your pain is, what you should focus in on, component 1, component 2, and component 3.
Yeah, well, that sounds pretty doable. So click the link that's right down below and you can check out Rick's product. Thanks, Rick.
Thank you.